All right. Let's talk some contender buys here. Some wide receiver buys for your contending teams that can be obtained with a third round pick. But I mean, not easily on some of these players, but it can be done. All right, let's start with my first receiver here. The new wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers. Adam Thielen, Bryce Young's #1 receiver this upcoming season, I think, assuming he stays healthy. He's fairly old, so it it probably is not gonna take that much, convincing if the manager is not a contender. 32. He did sign a 3-year deal, I think, and only the first two are guaranteed. Not a bad option for Bryce Young while he learns or adjusts NFL game. Even last year, he still managed to get 107 targets, 70 receiving yards, and ended up wide receiver 29 overall in PPR. So I think he can replicate that production, especially being the veteran on the team and essentially the best receiver, at least at this stage of everyone's respective careers. So let's see the wide receiver room for the Panthers here. We got DJ Chark, who's always hurt. Although when he's healthy, he does provide a good option on the outside. I do expect him to be healthy and should help Bryce Young take over the top there. And then we got two young guys in Marshall and Mingo, who's still developing. Well, Marshall's still developing. Mingo's a rookie. And then Chenault. I don't know what happened with Chenault, but he's got that hybrid four-man Steve-O role that he tried to be when he got into the league. It just, with the Jags, he just dropped too many passes and definitely not a great wide receiver. But with his, flexibility in the position, he's still gonna get some snaps. And the rest of the wide receiver room's not worth mentioning. Shi Smith had some moments last year because of all the injuries, but yeah, other than that, Thielen should be a good, steady, fringe wide receiver 2 option. Chark, great best ball option. And for long-term dynasty, I'm really high on Mingo. I know he didn't produce much in college, but the Panthers felt like he can. That's why they took him so earlier than everyone projected, because of his athletic ability. And I'm kind of excited. He's tied to Bryce Young for 4 years, and as long as he can catch those efficient targets from Bryce, he should be able to eventually get the wide receiver 1 role on this team. They don't have a first round pick next year, so essentially that gives Mingo 2 chances. And Thielen and Chark are on a 1-year deal. And Marshall, well, he did flash a little bit last year, and hopefully he keeps improving. That's a good 1-2 punch for 2024 for... Oh wait, no, Thielen got 3 years, but yeah. Thielen's mostly in the slot, so Marshall and Mingo on the outside, Thielen in the slot. So yeah, good decent room for Bryce. I mean, not amazing, but got dependable veterans in Chark and Thielen, assuming they stay healthy. And let's move on to our next receivers here. So yeah, Thielen, you can get him for early third, probably maybe 2/3, but a late second I think is kind of an overpay, at least for now, since we haven't seen him. But next receiver is Juju, for the new wide receiver 1 for the New England Patriots. So everybody's hyped for Juju when he joined KC. Fortunately, like, he was hurt a lot, but not in terms of like he missed a lot of games. It's just he wasn't in the field a lot because, yeah, some ailing injuries prevent him to play a lot of snaps. And I don't know, I think the chemistry was just off with Mahomes. And plus, you know, this essentially Kelsey's team. Now Juju has moved on to the Patriots to be their wide receiver one, at least in the slot. And I don't know how much better he'll get with the stats he put up with KC last year. 100 target, 80 catches, 900 yards. He's going to worst offense. And he is taking over the Jacoby Myers role, which I think was like wide receiver 30 in PPR. So I don't see him doing better than that. I mean, that's essentially the same as we did in KC. So I'm expecting fringe wide receiver 2, but mid wide receiver 3 production, which is a good buy for the contenders. That's your wide receiver board, probably flex starter. Especially because this room looks pretty horrible. Assuming they don't sign DeAndre Hopkins. But even if they do sign DeAndre Hopkins, it should only help Juju. So like, you got Parker, who is decent, but he's old. And like, their quarterback situation isn't really amazing to support more than 2 fantasy wide receivers, or at least consistently. Parker can produce, it's in bursts because this offense is very anemic in the passing game. They still got second round Taekwon, which basically just a speed guy so far in the league. They did draft Keyshawn Booty, but apparently he's been booty. And Demario Douglas has outplayed him. But yeah, Kendrick Bourne, I don't know. What's his name? Belichick hates him for some reason. Or at least that's what it seems like. Like, he does produce when he plays. It's just, it seems like he's always in the doghouse. So yeah, if you manage to get Juju for an early second, I mean early third, that'd be a steal for a contender. But I think most managers is holding out for like a late second, which is understandable. But there's plenty of better wide receivers out there you can acquire for a late second than Juju. So I'd hold off. And let's move on to the next receiver here. Is the enigmatic Michael Thomas. So alright. His stock has fell again compared to last year. Last year, the offseason, this dude was like getting drafted in the 7th, 8th round in Dynasty, even earlier in redraft and best ball, and he had a great start of the season for 3 games. And unfortunately, it was only 3 games. He had like 16 catches for 3 games, which is what? 5 catches a game at like 60 yards and a touchdown. That's 13 points per game, which is decent wide receiver too. And all the owners, assuming they're not contenders, are probably trying to get off this train and trying to get some value before he eventually gets hurt again. And if I was one of them, I'd hold off for a late second, but sometimes some people just want to get off the train and they take an early third. So I'd be knocking on their doors, seeing you can add MT in your wide receiver depth. I mean, hopefully it's not like your third receiver that you have to rely on every week, but it's a flex play. If and when healthy, he can, still produce back end wide receiver 1, early wide receiver 2 numbers if he's healthy. Looking at the Saints depth chart right now, he could still be the wide receiver 1 I mean, Olave is amazing, but I mean, Carr can definitely produce two wide receivers. It's just Michael Thomas is a target hog when he does play, and although Chris Olave is the more explosive out of the two, I think Carr is such a play it safe guy that he always targets, like Waller, Devontae, like last year. He just locks onto the receiver, and I think that's Michael Thomas with his pedigree. But looking at this room, like there's really no one here. I mean, Rashid Shaheed, great story last year. I think he's gonna take another step. And if for some reason Michael Thomas gets hurt, Shaheed is also a decent third round buy, but there's just that variance with Shaheed. If Thomas is healthy, he won't produce as well as he did last year. So that's the only caveat if you do buy him. Yeah. And for Michael Thomas, it's been getting hype, or at least, every offseason that, oh, he's finally healthy, he's ready. So, but keep that in mind. Just use that as a trading chip when you're trying to trade a third for him. That, like, gonna get hurt again, and you might be left holding the bag kind of stuff. You know how, we try to bargain when we're trying to trade players. Finally, to end this video, Cortland Sutton. Alright, so everybody has soured on Sutton lately, especially after a disastrous 2022 season in which he was fairly getting hype after he got Russell Wilson. And don't get me wrong, he was horrible. Even so, with Russell Wilson being horrible. And he's been falling in ADP this season compared to last season. He was like a 7th, 8th round startup pick. Now he's like 13th, 12th. But at this price, I'm still willing to, take that risk. He's barely, I think he's 2 years removed from ACL, which hopefully is when most players regain their previous form. So this year, I think he's gonna surprise everyone. I think he's one of the players here that you can easily buy for a third. But yeah, I have him in like 3 leagues, contending leagues, and I wouldn't trade him because I think I paid in one league like a late second, trying to buy low, and hasn't worked out. He did put a manageable or serviceable end of season numbers, like you see here. But yeah, I think I kind of overpaid. But this is Dynasty. He's still only 27. He still outperformed that price. And he got a new head coach, new system, hopefully a much better system. And I think he's gonna end up reducing at a back end wide receiver 2, high end wide receiver 3. So if you can buy him for a third, I'd get on that. Definitely one of the buy lows, I guess, this offseason with all the Judy hype and the Tim Patrick offseason storyline and Marvin Mims getting hype, being, Peyton's first pick, the head coach of the Broncos. But anyways, that's it for my contender buy. So guess you get on that. For the next episode, we'll go look at some third round running backs. I'll see you then. Peace.